Ew, her again. I am so glad to see you too. In case you live under a rock, my name is Cassie and this is Dose of DIY. I'm going to be walking you guys through how to do your own tub skirt. Since it was a project that I had done before I started recording my projects, before I had any idea that I was going to create like a YouTube channel, I only had like a couple of pictures. So I'm going to try my best to walk you through it. So first, I measured the width of my bathtub. So this is what I used for my tub skirt. So when I was measuring, I was like, okay, so how long is my tub? I got this on Amazon. It is a 1x4 by 48 inch board. So they're really sturdy. I use them for my tub skirt as well as the frame around my mirrors. But also I recently created a product page on my website. So because I link all of the products that I use in all of my posts, I figured it'd be good to have like a page where I just have all the recommended products. I have a whole page that has different tabs, so you can find like tools, DIY supplies, home decor, like a bunch of stuff. I have a tab for everything in case you see anything in the videos that you like. I would check there because it's probably there. So when I was trying to figure out like the height, like I didn't have like a fancy method for how I picked this. I was just like, okay, here's like my tub's like this height. I don't want it to go all the way up to the top of my tub. I felt like that would look weird, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have it be like a little bit lower. Measured what I wanted that height to be. Like since this vertical one was gonna be between two horizontal ones, I had to subtract the width of both of these to figure out the height that I needed this one to be. Okay, so the next step is that we have to glue them together. Okay, so after I cut it, then I put this clamp on it, right? So I put the glue on it and then I put the clamp on it to make sure that it stayed in like the position that I wanted it to be in. So if you've watched my other videos, you know that I typically like to use like Craig pocket hole jigs to connect wood together. But for this, it's different. How is it different? So upon my magnificent Googling skills, I found out that you're actually not supposed to put it in screws and stuff because it can rust and stuff due to the close proximity to water. So just wood glue here, folks. So then I used my favorite wood filler to hide like the cracks or like the gaps in between the wood. And I use this because I like that it comes on peak, then it dries like a natural color so that you can tell when it's dry and when it's good to sand, which I like. Then I needed to have a back for it. And by back, I mean like something that was like connecting here, like a thin sheet of something that was connecting here, because I had no idea how this was going to turn out because I had never made one before, so I didn't know if I was going to like it, so I didn't want to like paint directly on my tub or anything because I had no idea if I was going to like how it looked. So I had like this backing on it. Then I bought an IKEA kitchen corner base cabinet that I flipped upside down and I turned that into my litter box enclosure, but then it had like this like piece to it that I just wasn't using and it was super thin, and I was like, oh, this is perfect for like the back of this. So I cut that to be the back for this, and then I glued that bad boy on. And then I used my favorite thing ever, Caulk. I use this one and I'll link it below. I'm sure there's a lot of good ones out there. It's just when I find one that I like, I just stick with it because I know that I like it. Okay, and I put it in the seams for where the wood meets that backboard so that it covers those seams. Because when you're painting over it, then if you have those like seams covered, it looks more professional. Wait. What is the difference between wood filler and caulk? So wood filler, it can have like little wood particles in it or whatever, but the point of it is that it is to go into like where there's holes or cracks in wood. Then it like becomes really hard and helps like strengthen the bond between two pieces of wood or like covers a hole in wood or something like that. So that's the point of wood filler. It is a hard substance that you can sand down. So then like after it dries, you sand it to make it look all like one cohesive piece. Then there's caulk. Caulk is flexible material used to seal air leaks through cracks, gaps, and joints less than 1/4 inch wide between stationary building components and materials. So caulk is what we are using to fill the gap between the backboard and the wood boards so that it has like a smooth finish so that when you're painting it doesn't look awkward. It makes it look more professionally finished, if that makes sense. So then once all that is dry, I painted it. This is like my infancy in DIY days. So at that point, all I had really used is chalk paint. So that's all I knew how to use. So therefore, the paint that I used was a black chalk paint. I use folk art. Again, like I said, when I find something that I like, I stick with it because I know that it works. I find that when I use this, you can't see like the paint strokes or whatever, and it worked for me, and so I stuck with it. But then I needed to find a way to waterproof it. So some posts say that like on top here, they'll put like a PVC like board or something like that. But to be totally honest, I'm so cheap and I was like, I don't want to have to buy something else. So then I was like, okay, what do I have that I could potentially use to waterproof it? I had used this like marble epoxy kit for my bathroom countertop, and I knew that like the reason I chose that was because I knew that it was like gonna waterproof it. And so then I was like, oh, well, when I bought that kit, they gave me 3 of those like epoxy things, and I only used 1 on my countertop. So is epoxy something that you could use to waterproof it? And I looked into it, and it turns out that epoxy is a great way to waterproof wood. With the epoxy, obviously, it's going to depend on the epoxy kit that you get. I looked into the brand and I looked online, and I knew they used to sell spare epoxy, but I was having troubles like getting to like that store this time. So I don't know what happened, but I don't exactly feel comfortable making a recommendation on epoxy for something that isn't something that I've used, because I don't know if it's good or not. But if you check out my blog post for this project, I'm going to have a link to this like Pinterest post that I found of somebody who did do an epoxy coat for something that wasn't the brand that I used, to just buy that epoxy so that you can see a different option. But for the kit that I used, I think that the main points were that you have to like mix it for like 3 minutes, or like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and you want to do it exactly for that, but then it does dry really quickly. So you have like 30 minutes from the time that you activate it to get it all smoothed out. The mistake that I made when I was doing my countertop was that I made it too thin. So I tried to like thin it out because I had never done it. I didn't know what I was doing. So you don't want to make it too thin. It should feel like it's too much. Like you should feel like you're drowning in epoxy. I'm like the kind of person, when I'm like doing something, I like to like do as little as possible, keep it clean, you know? You can't have that mindset with epoxy, unfortunately. Doing that and then checking as soon as you put it on. So you want to try to get rid of any air bubbles, any dust, any hair, whatever, as soon as you put it on, because as soon as that gets like a little bit hardened, you're not going to be able to get that out. So you want to get that out ASAP. So who's ready for the recap? Let's go. Measure that. Cut it to be the height and the width that you need it. No screwing around here. Glue it and put wood filler. Find a backing that you can use and then glue that. Put the caulk on. Paint it. Waterproof it with epoxy. And ta-da! Please ask if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them and to help you out. For those of you that are not subscribed, I'm telling you now that like down the line, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, yo, I should have subscribed a long time ago. Unlike my amazing, super intelligent subscribers who have been there all along, they have the ability to recognize greatness from the start. Like they are like the trendsetters. You know those people that like find music before it becomes popular? Like that's them. And I love you guys. And honestly, I wish I was as much of a trendsetter as you are. It's okay, non-subscribers, you'll catch on eventually. I can't wink, dude. Just like pretend that was like a cool sly wink. Okay, love you.